Brandon, 24/7 Sports. Brandon Marcello joins us all the time. We greatly appreciate his time as always. You guys love to hear from him. He is with us now on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline. What is up, Brandon Marcello? How are you?
What's up, guys?
Just hanging out. We love November Chaos, and we get it almost every year. The one that would seem like, there's the rosters might tell me there's a chance of happening, but USC just fired their defensive coordinator. There's no way they go to Oregon and win this game. I mean, aren't those the types that happen, and we look back on it and say, well, crap, I should not have discounted that.
No, it's possible. I mean, I had Washington USC as one of my top games last week just because I thought it was possible that USC could do it because they got the offensive firepower to beat anybody in the country. And, gosh, if you just get that defense to make 3 stops in the game, they could win. I do think that, we talk about talent and coaching. That USC's defense is bad because of the coaching. It's not the talent. They've got talent. I mean, you look at the average amount of missed tackles they've had. I think it's like 11 missed tackles per game this year, which is up from last year, which was like 10.4, something like that. It's coaching. They've got better talent than they had last year, and yet they're doing worse. And so, I definitely think USC could beat Oregon. I think they could beat anybody in the country if they can just get 3 stops a game by their defense, but that's not happening.
What's more surprising in year 2, that Brian Kelly has 3 losses at LSU or Lincoln Riley has 3 losses at USC?
That's a good question. I'm going to say USC, Lincoln Riley, just because I thought the defense was going to be a little bit better this year, and in the Pac-12, no matter how strong it is, the schedule's still a little bit weaker than the SEC. And I think at most, if you had told me, I would have said most USC would have 1 loss right now. They should. And that would probably have been at Notre Dame. But even now, you look at Notre Dame looks like it's just an above average team this year. But that's more disappointing to me. LSU, it's just they've been ravaged a little bit by injuries on that defense, especially in the secondary, kind of trying to come together and gel together. And LSU and USC are very similar this year. Explosive offenses, great quarterbacks, and just subpar defense.
Yeah, I'm on pain meds right now. I'll go ahead and tell you a little back problem, I think. So this may not make sense, but here's my hot take. There'll be no chaos this year. I mean, we always say there's going to be chaos.
Well, because there always is.
Yeah, but no chaos this year. Is there a possibility there's no chaos, that we are jam-packed at the top with too many one-loss teams and a few undefeated teams?
Possible. In fact, my buddy Chris Hummer works at 24/7 Sports with me. Put out a hypothetical this morning about, what if? Let me try to get this all together. But pretty much it was, what if Alabama beats Georgia in the SEC championship game? Texas wins out. Washington or Oregon finish just with 1 loss as a Pac-12 champion, and Florida State goes undefeated. Who gets left out in that scenario? And to me, it would be Texas in the Big 12. And even that, there'd be upset Texas fans, of course, but I don't think that would be all that controversial. Even though, quote unquote, Texas has the win against Alabama, Alabama would have had the stronger schedule at that point. And of course, Texas has that loss to OU, and OU may very well be completely out of the top 25, not even sniffing it by the end of this year. So there's just, as much as it seems like at times we're having like closer games and everything, we haven't had that massive upset this year. Gosh, I mean, week 2 or week 3, we're all sitting there thinking, hey, this is setting up to be like a 2007 type of year. Hasn't been anywhere close to that.
Brandon Marcello is with us at B. Marcello on Twitter. 24/7 Sports is where you read his work, watch his videos, do everything for him. We ask you to do for us. Give everything a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to him and you follow everything he does. He's on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline. In a scenario such as yours, there is a perception out there that because of the demise of the Pac-12, they don't have the pull that an SEC or a Big 10 or even a Big 12 does, and that might impact a 1-loss Oregon. Is that a bad perception, do you think?
I don't think that'll be the case this year. I think a 1-loss Oregon or Washington will be in the playoff. I don't think a lot of people would argue against that either. From fan perspective, I think the Pac-12 is stronger in the eyes of fans this year. I think people I think actually the demise of the Pac-12 has actually helped that perspective because everybody wants that underdog story, so to speak, in their last gasp out there. So yeah, I don't buy into that, and I don't buy into the committee really trying to bury the Pac-12. And for that matter, we look through history, the top 4 teams in the playoff committee era would have been the same top 4 teams in the BCS computer polls. And I can go on and on about this, but there's no freaking, we shouldn't even have a freaking committee. There's no point in it. We're paying all these guys extra money and flying them into Dallas, staying in that posh hotel, hanging out, and they're sitting in a room watching football games and all this. And all they're doing is looking at stats and analytics and pretty much doing the computer's work for the computer.
Do you think we always will? Do you think we will in the future of a 12 or 16 team playoff?
I think they will. Yeah, they'll continue to have that committee there because now it becomes a greater margin for error. They'll continue to do it just to because they're getting closer and closer to doing what obviously the NCAA tournament does in men's basketball. You have a committee. That's just what they're going to do. But in a 4-team playoff era, it's proven out to be that there was no point in having this committee. They won't say it. They'll never say it. And you'll have people coming out and defend it against it. But it's been ridiculously put together.
The committee is there. The committee's there to protect the SEC and the Big Ten. I believe. It really is. If the computer spits out something wrong, then we got to make sure that the people who really pay the bills, the SEC and the Big Ten, get their team in there. I believe the committee is there to protect the power.
It's just a resume builder. It's like any of us. We go out there and we're part of some city council or school board or something in our community and put it on a resume and show just how good of people we are.
You were talking about there hasn't been that massive upset yet, but you look back, and I think at the end of the year, there are 2 teams, depending if there's a little attrition and chaos at the top. Oklahoma State losing at home to South Alabama and getting whipped. I mean, right now, the way they're playing, if they would have found their offense early on with Ollie Gordon, that's a 1-loss team. Maybe not even a 1-loss team because the very next week they lose to Iowa State by 7. They might be undefeated right now. And then North Carolina, that weird sequence of back-to-back losses to Virginia and Georgia Tech, they'd be undefeated if it wasn't for that.
Yeah, and I went and saw Oklahoma State in person this weekend in Bedlam, and amazing atmosphere. And it's incredible. It's one of the least talked about coaching jobs this year. They literally took a bye week, and Mike Gundy told the coaches, he told them, you guys are coaching like crap. I'm coaching like crap. Let's rip this all apart, start from scratch. What's working, what isn't. And they went in and said, all right, we're going to run the ball more. We're going to stop using this ridiculous 3-headed quarterback system. We're going to stop rotating at running back. We're going to simplify things. We're going to figure out what our offensive line, who are our best 5 there, instead of rotating some guys in and out. And they've been fantastic. Ollie Gordon is a legitimate Heisman contender. He won't win it this year, but he's a top 5 guy in there. He's rushed for 100+ these last 6 games. They are a team that could beat anybody in the Big 12 right now. And if they were to emerge out of the Big 12 as a Big 12 champion, I think Mike Gundy should be coach of the year because, listen, not a lot of coaches are willing to kind of sit in the front of the mirror and go, I'm not doing a good job. Let's just completely change everything and see what works here. And it's been I mean, not only did they lose to South Alabama, they got their asses kicked, guys, at 33-7. And it wasn't even that close. And Gundy says this. I was talking to Gundy after the game. I said, is this the most, of all the seasons you've coached as a head coach, 19 years, is this the most improbable stretch you've had, including the championship run in 2011, all that? And he goes, yeah, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So I don't think Oklahoma State's not going to be in a playoff picture. And that's why they're not being talked about. But man, the coaching job that's been done there has been amazing. And as you said, that they're ruining the hopes of some Big 12 teams out there, including OU.
Hey, keep in mind,
and maybe Texas in the Big 12 championship game.
Keep in mind, pain medication. But is the paddles at Oklahoma State games? Is that like the cowbells at Mississippi State games? Are they loud?
They are loud if you're on the field, and it also helps that the field is so close to the stands. It's like 8 yards. It's one of the tightest sidelines out there. In fact, they don't allow any media on the sidelines because there's literally no room for it. I don't know if you guys saw the game. There was a catch. Drake Stoops for OU was catching a ball, and he was going out of bounds. It's probably pass interference. They didn't throw the flag. But you can see the paddles are literally like within arm's distance of him as they're hitting it as he's landing out the side of the end zone. It's you get too far out there, you're gonna get whacked in the head by one of those.
Yeah,
things.
it's so tight. I think they do the pop-up 10 in the end zones, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
I mean, it's not even on the
Yeah.
sidelines. Yeah.
What was that crowd breakdown?
It was 85% Oklahoma State. It was like OU bought up every ticket they could in their section, but I didn't see any OU fans like splattered across, really. It was a great atmosphere because that stadium, if you've ever been, it's a smaller venue, but as I said, it's real tight and it's really great. And the problem is it's like trying to get down the field, even as fans trying to storm it. 2 years ago, I was there for Bedlam. They stormed the field, and the drop off from the stands is like 8 feet, right? And it's just solid concrete, and you got to drop off. And I watched 2 people break a leg, including a compound fracture, which I never want to see that again.
Wow, Brandon.
Yeah. But this time they learned they had security helping people out, and then other people helping each other out. It was like a slow trickle, but it's a great venue.
So the last couple of games at Tuscaloosa, you've seen that hate with the revenge games for Alabama against Tennessee and LSU. I don't know if we've seen any more hate than we saw this past week in Stillwater, though. Were you out at bars Friday and Saturday night, and were there any confrontations?
No confrontation I saw. I went out there Friday night. I was out there Saturday night cruising, looking for the goalposts, actually. And it was, of course, more celebratory there. Although I did see some, I don't know if they would say SWAT team type, and they were wearing like SWAT gear and look like airsoft paint guns, probably rubber bullets. I don't know, whatever. I guess they were getting ready for maybe a riot, but obviously that wasn't happening. Downtown's really cool there, the Strip. And it was packed. They carried the goalpost down to Theta Pond, which is pretty much like half a mile away from the stadium, and they threw it in the pond, and it sank, of course. And then apparently, like a few hours later, some people went back out there and went into the water and got it out and started like sawing up pieces of it, much like Ole Miss did when they beat Alabama years ago.
That sounds safe. A couple of drunk students get in the pond, pull it up.
Yeah.
Well, I walked out. I walked down there because I was looking for it, and I didn't see it. And there were some people like hovering around, drinking whiskey and everything, and really drunk, just hanging there, reminiscing and everything. And a lot of them were saying it wasn't in there anymore. It's like, yeah, I think they took it out or whatever, but it was still in there. You just couldn't see it.
Will is that the death permanently of that rivalry? Do you think when Oklahoma comes to the SEC, could we ever see it again?
They should, but it's so stupid. The whole thing, everything's stupid these days. I liken it a lot to Texas and Texas A&M when A&M left. Listen, their quote unquote non-conference schedules are pretty much filled every year through 2037. OU and Oklahoma State. There's one opening really, considering the criteria, because they're all worried about Power 5 non-conference games. They've already got Power 5 non-conference games scheduled, both of them. 2031, there's an opening, but they won't schedule it just for a one-off. And Mike Gundy's convinced, we'll just play him in a bowl game. It's silly. I mean, it doesn't make like a big national splash all that much unless it's like an upset like this past weekend. But in that state, it obviously matters. Yeah. And we're all these regional rivalry games. We seem to be getting rid of them. And but it doesn't seem like I talked to the administrations there. It doesn't seem like there's any push to get it done. If they wanted to play, they could. All you got to do, but do it. Is go cancel your Power 5 non-conference games from now on. Don't play, Arkansas. Don't play whoever, and schedule Bedlam. But they won't do it because there's feelings hurt.
You did a deep dive on this game this past week. Did you look at a possible scenario if Texas loses down the stretch that we could see Oklahoma State again in the Big 12 championship?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's in fact, I was talking to Ollie Gordon, and it's like, how does this feel? All that. Getting that last laugh in Bedlam, he goes, I'm not going to say anything because I think we might face him again in the Big 12 championship game. That would be something.
Boy, how disappointing would that be for Texas?
Oh, hugely. But, I mean, you want to talk bad blood. Boy, let him play in the Big 12 championship game. Wow. On the way out the door. Woo.
And Oklahoma State's got a pretty clear path. I think their last 3 games are all against Big 12 newcomers. And we know how they're doing in the Big 12 this year. They're doing poorly. So.
Not good.
Not good.
Not good.
All right, he is Brandon Marcello, always exceptional with his time with us. Brandon, thank you very much for that time. We always appreciate it.
All right, thanks, guys. See ya.
All right, buddy, take care. Brandon with us on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline.